You're tuned in to the Keetria Show and listening to SOB, Style of Business, the podcast with your host, Keetria. We aim to highlight the ongoing trek of entrepreneurs and business owners from around the globe, featuring stories that recount their struggles, experiences, and inevitable road to success and self-fulfillment. Welcome to SOB.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in for another fantastic episode of SOB, Style of Business. So on today's episode, we're going to roll a little bit different from the usual. And I'm always kind of hyped on these conversations because, like Forrest Gump, you never know what you're going to get. But today we have a special two-part series. We're going to be speaking with Erin Martin, who's going to be talking to us about failing forward. Okay, she is just a phenomenal lady. I definitely feel blessed and had an opportunity to meet her a couple of months ago, but she's an entrepreneur, small business owner, mom, wife, and she's doing some wonderful things. So today we're going to be talking to her for a little bit, and then we'll have her back with next week's episode to wrap up. I mean, she has some interesting stuff that she is dying to share with us. So we are talking to her now, and then, like I said, next week, you guys make sure to tune in to SOB and get the rest of her scoop. So let's not hold it any longer. Erin, how are you doing today? Thanks so much for being with us here on Style of Business.
Oh, thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
Good deal. Good deal. So I know you and I were just kind of doing a little brief before the conversation, but I want to take a minute to give you just a little time to talk about your background. You got so many things going on, but just give us a brief introduction, and then we're going to keep rolling from there.
Well, that's great. So my background is in medical sales and service. So I went to college. I got my 4-year degree in business. I majored in marketing. So I really am that creative kind of person, high energy. I don't need a whole lot of sleep. I just really enjoy what I do. So I met my husband in college, and we had 3 almost grown kids, 2 in college and 1 almost there. But my life really reads like a personal growth book. So let's just say I've gotten really good at failing forward in life and in business. Failing Forward, consequently, is a book by John Maxwell, and it's a book that talks about when you do fail, learn from it, and then move forward. So I've gotten pretty good at that. So one of the things I really love is that I really am a one-time quitter and a 2-time success story.
Yeah, and I know you have to explain. I tell you what, we'll let you. I know you're going to give us the goodies on that, and you do a lot with like the wellness and fitness and network marketing and all that other stuff. But let's talk a bit about how you got started. You have, like you said, you were doing the medical, and then there was the independent businesses and all that other stuff. You want to talk about that a minute?
I would love to talk about that. So, like I said, I graduated from college, have a business degree, and I met my husband in college. So we got married right after college, and I was in the medical field. We started having a family after a couple of years. And one of the things that really changed my life is that one of my children, I have 3, one of my children does have chronic illness. And when you have a child with chronic illness, it really does change your life. And it really changed the course of my career. So with her, I needed to be a stay-at-home mom. So I had 3 small children. I left my career in sales and became a stay-at-home mom. Yeah,
and I know that especially with having to stay at home and doing that on top of working, I can imagine that kind of got a little bit complicated. But tell us about what inspired you, because I know that there's like a lot of the background before we actually get into you stepping up and taking charge and running your own business. But what inspired you to actually say, okay, you know what, raising got my kids, you got your family life going on, but then you wanted to kind of step into doing something for yourself with your business. So tell us a little bit about that inspiration.
So let me tell you how I got started in the health and wellness industry, because I think that's really where this conversation goes. So my daughter does have cystic fibrosis. That's a lung and pancreas disease. And having a pancreas disease, you learn a lot about how the body operates and metabolically how food affects your body. So I've learned all of that over the years. My daughter is 19, almost 20. So I've been really in this learning phase for a long time about just nutrition. But just to back up a bit, I really got into this industry because my husband was really ill. I mean, he was really, really ill. He was exhausted all the time. Getting out of bed was a real trial for him. At this point in my life, I had 3 little bitty kids, I was a stay-at-home mom, taking care of my kids, taking care of my child that had some special needs. And then my husband is really, really very ill. He can even work out. I mean, when I say exhausted, I mean everything he had just to go work. Now, we were a single income family, which is stressful enough because if something happened to my husband, I really didn't know what I was going to do. So there's a lot of stress on families with one income, right?
Yeah.
Because you just never know. One illness could take out that wage earner, and where would you be? Or maybe there's a loss of that income. Then where would you be? So this is what I was struggling with at that point in my life. And so I started doing research like I do. I just dig into things. I dig in. So we finally realized that what my husband had that was causing him to be so ill was he had food allergies.
Oh, wow.
Food allergies made him so sick, he could barely function. So we finally figured out the food allergies. We got him off gluten. We got him off dairy, and he started to feel a lot better. I mean, all of a sudden, he's got some energy. Now, he's still really struggling, but he's feeling better because his body isn't reacting negatively to the nourishment that he's getting. So here's the deal. So let me give you a little bit of information. If you're sick and you don't feel good and you're trying to work and you're trying to do these things and you look around and everyone else seems to be doing so much better than you, more energy, they seem more vibrant, then you really need to ask yourself, what's missing? What am I missing? Because you are missing something. Because when you go to the doctor and they tell you all your labs are normal, then you start to think, oh my gosh, this is psychosomatic or something. But it probably isn't. You know when you feel good and you don't feel good. So this is what was going on with my husband. We went from doctor to doctor to doctor, and they all told him, hey, you're fine, you're fine. But come to find out, his vitamin D level was a 4. With vitamin D that low, you're going to be exhausted. You're going to barely be able to get out of bed. So what we did is we supplemented that back up to normal. And this was all through a wellness doctor here in Houston. We supplemented that back up to normal. Like I said, we changed his diet. We figured out that he had a thyroid issue. Oh, my goodness. If I could encourage your listeners to do one thing, it is to go get your physical every year. Go get your vitamin panel done. Get your thyroid checked. Get your blood sugars checked. Make sure you're okay, because that can affect the rest of your life. So we got him off of gluten, off of dairy. We got his thyroid worked out. Guess what? Synthroid is a synthetic thyroid medication. And surprise, it doesn't work for everyone.
Oh, wow.
It didn't work for my husband. And so that regulates all your hormones. So this is the business that I'm in now, is I help people get healthy and feel better. And some of the things that I do is I help them. They can lose weight. They can detox. A lot of people can't lose weight because there's so many toxins in their body. So I teach them how to detox. I teach them how to eat a clean, healthy lifestyle, how to eat clean, how to exercise. So I do all these things for people because of my experience with my husband, because I understand how food affects how you feel.
Yeah.
And if you feel bad, you're not going to be successful. So once we got that turned around in his life, I thought, you know what? I'm really interested in this field. I think I could really help people. And so that's why I am with Arbonne, which is a 38-year-old health and wellness company. And I love it. I get to see people transform their lives, and I get to be a part of that. And that's what I love.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know that was one of the primary factors behind you getting involved with the company and, just overall fitness and wellness. And you look great too, by the way. So I can tell you,
thank you.
Yeah, I know that you're not just preaching to the choir. I know you're actually walking the path yourself, which is great. And one of the things that I really, really love about you personally is the fact that you regard your daughter as your hero. I know that she's been through a lot with the cystic fibrosis, and you and your family have also kind of been through a lot. But give us, if you don't mind, and you're okay with this, share a bit about how your family has been able to overcome like some of the challenges of, the chronic illnesses. And then tell us why she's your hero.
Well, I'll tell you, that's hard. Any kind of chronic illness like this is hard. So my daughter was diagnosed she was almost 3, which is pretty late to be diagnosed with cystic fibrosis. And because it is a lung and a pancreas disease. And so there's usually a loss of vitality. So they don't grow as tall and they're just not thriving. So it's a failure to thrive. And then that's when you're kind of clued in that there's an issue. And they determine if you have cystic fibrosis by a very simple test. It's called a sweat test. And they literally make a little patch of your skin sweat. And then they measure the amount of sodium chloride that is in that sweat. And if it's high, like my daughter's was off the charts high, then you have cystic fibrosis. And so that's how that happens. How it affects the families, it's a lot of investment of your time. And it's difficult because when you have a small child, you have to somehow motivate that small child to do physical therapy. So just physical therapy for my daughter now, so she's almost 20. Just the physical therapy part of it and the nebulizer treatments, because you have to have inhaled medications. That takes her about 2 hours a day. And then right now for her, she's also on IV antibiotics that take about another hour and a half. So that's a lot of time doing treatments. The reason she is my hero is because she's just overcome a lot. She just never gives up. I mean, she's really got grit. You know, the definition of grit is just getting in there and getting after it and getting it done. Yeah. And she just does. She just does. So just to kind of make it really clear to you what she does. So every morning she'll wake up. She has to wake up extremely early to get everything in. She'll wake up. She will do her physical therapy, which is, you know, about an hour. It's about an hour in the morning. It's a little bit longer at night. But she does this chest physical therapy, and you're literally sitting on the bed with a vest on that shakes your chest so that you can produce mucus and get all the junk out of your lungs. So she wakes up every day and she does that. And then she does her IV antibiotics. And it's not fun. You know, you have to cough up a bunch of junk just so you can breathe. And it's hard. So she really struggled in high school. She really started having more of an issue in high school. And it was really hard for her. She was judged by her peers, of course, because some nights you're up all night coughing. You know, sometimes you cough till you throw up. And the reason she's my hero is that she just keeps going. So she would pick herself up after a night like that. And she would go to high school, where I have to add, high school isn't always a pretty place to be. If you've got some issues, it's not pretty. People don't understand. But, she went to Cy-Fair High School, and I have to give them some kudos, because those administrators up there, from the attendance lady and the nurses to her caseworker, the principal and the director of instruction, they all lifted her up and gave her so much encouragement that she just kept going. So she would just go to school after being up all night, many nights in a row, and she just kept going. And she would be hospitalized. She was hospitalized probably every 4 to 6 months for those 4 years during high school. And she was in for 2 weeks at a time. So she pretty much taught herself a lot of her studies. So anyone that can do that is pretty impressive. But that wasn't the only thing that she had to do. She had to overcome dyslexia. So she's also dyslexic. And she has neurological processing issues through her eyes. So she's constantly having to overcome those things too, on top of her cystic fibrosis. And then on top of all of that, she also helps parents, other moms and dads, with people that have children with CF. And she has some pretty critical conversations with these parents just to help them know how to help their children through the different life changes of living with this disease. And she helps other people with different chronic illnesses. She's just an encouragement to people. So just to back up a little bit, with all of these issues, she could barely read and write in the 6th grade. Barely read and write. I mean, she's a very smart girl, but with dyslexia and then the processing issues, it was really hard for her. But now she does very well. And she is in the National Society of Collegiate Scholars. She just transferred to Sam Houston State University in the fall with a 3.86 GPA. Great. She lives independently, takes care of her own health care, and she's just a motivation to people. So, that's why she's my hero, because she just doesn't give up. She just doesn't quit. And I just think, if she can do all of that, surely I can make a business work. Surely I can get myself up and get motivated enough to go get some business. And I just do. But she's an inspiration. So that's why she's my hero. Oh,
I love that. Yeah, that is great. And let's talk about the business a bit. And then I also want to kind of backtrack on the wellness part and the healthy eating. I know you just kind of touched on that when you were talking about your husband's story. But really quick on the building your business, like, okay, you have the chronic illnesses that you're dealing with, your stay-at-home mom, and then there's the thing with your husband's illness. At what point did you say, okay, you know what, I have got to get out there, I have got to get some clients, I got to, get my business off the ground? Like, at what point did you actually start putting your plan into action?
Well, it's so funny because you're asking basically, why did you go back to work, and at what point were you pushed into it, right? Kind of what really motivated you.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, I have to tell you, it's really my affinity for food, clothing, and shelter.
Oh, all right.
That sounds funny. It does.
Yeah.
But when your back's against the wall, right? That's when usually you make those decisions that really propel your business. So the biggest failures, just before the biggest successes, you will fail and fail and fail before you succeed. It's just the way it works. And so when my back was against the wall and I was like, you know what, I've done this twice. I mean, I'm like the biggest quitter and the biggest winner. So I've done this twice. And I kid you not. I mean, I have. So the first time I started my Arbonne business was, again, out of necessity, right? I needed to have money to pay for things. And that's why most of us work. So the comp plan with a network marketing business is really what attracted me to the business. Now, I loved the health and wellness part, but my back was against the wall. I would be willing to do just about any sales type position in order to pay those bills. And I know that most people understand what I'm talking about.
Right, yeah.
It just so happened that I loved the company and I loved the comp plan. So that's why I picked network marketing, is because I can make a full-time income with a part-time business. Now, I work my business pretty much full-time at this point, but when I really started, it really was part-time because I had 3 little bitty children. They were little, and I had no choice, right? So the dilemma that a lot of people are in is that they need someone home with their kids, or at least to get them off the bus, or to be there at a decent hour when they get home from school, or they're paying for childcare, or they're paying for mom and dad are watching their kids. You're just not as present as you want to be. A lot of people just aren't as present as they want to be in their children's lives because they have to work. And that's something I couldn't do. I couldn't, because I had to take care of my kids, but I also had to take care of my daughter. So network marketing provided me with the structure of business that I could kind of have my cake and eat it too. So I got to choose my own hours. And then my startup costs were, practically nothing compared to a traditional business. So if I went to open a traditional business, that could be in the upwards of $200,000 or more. A Starbucks I think it's closer to $1 million, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
It cost me $79 to start my network marketing business. $79. You can go out to eat and spend more than that.
Yeah.
My business is almost nothing.
Exactly.
Can you agree with that? That's like an outfit,
Yeah.
That's not even including the shoes. So, it's a viable business. I did get I got some personal care products that we also use as demos, which is nice because everything's very sanitary, comes in pumps. And so then I started my business, and that's why I chose the business I'm in, and that's why I chose health and wellness, is because it's something that a stay-at-home mom that has had a massive gap in their employment can really do and make good money doing it. It just takes work. It is network marketing. Yeah. So it's not magic. Some people think it's magic. It's not. You have to figure out how to work your business, and then you've got to go execute it. And so that's why I love what I do. I get to help people, and I get to make good money doing it.
Perfect, yeah. And speaking of, I know you just mentioned it's actually the work that is going to bring in the results, but tell us, Erin, a bit about some of the challenges that, not necessarily in regards to raising a family, but in terms of starting a business and kind of getting that off the ground. Tell us what that looked like for you.
Well, like I said, so because I chose a different model, right, a non-traditional model, it looks a little bit different, and it looked different for me as a stay-at-home parent because I did have these time restraints. I had a lot of time restraints. And so just backing up, when I first was going back into the workforce, it was very, very scary. I've got an 8-year gap in employment. I kid you not. And when I say 8-year gap, when you are a stay-at-home mom with little children, and I know all the parents out there, and I say mom, but I mean stay-at-home parent. I'm just a mom. That's why I keep saying that. But when you're a parent of small children, you're doing good to take a shower some days. You really are, because those little people are 100% dependent on you for everything, and you better be there for them because they can get in trouble. The kids are fast. I can remember going into the parking lot holding, I've got two little ones, one in each hand, and I'm pushing a stroller. Now you tell me how that works. It's hard, right?
Right, yeah.
So I remember one specific instance when I was getting the baby into the stroller, and then I had my daughter was in one hand, the stroller, and my son had disappeared in a parking lot. He had wandered into the street. In a parking lot, so in between, the parking spaces, he had kind of gotten into the street, and I had grabbed him back, terrified.
Yeah.
It's hard. So my point is when you are in that position, and then you also have to start working, and you've had an employment gap like I've had, it was really challenging. So when I looked at the different business models, I knew that a traditional job for me or career, like I used to have in sales, because I sold medical supplies, I knew that just wasn't an option anymore.
Yeah.
It just wasn't. I mean, who's going to hire someone with a huge employment gap like that, right? So when I looked at what I'm really good at, I figured out what I was good at. Well, I'm really good at networking. I'm really good at running a small business. I know how to do that because I have a business degree, not required, but hey, it's helpful. I'm just really good at talking to people, and I'm really good at sharing things. And I'm not afraid to pick up the phone. Okay, I can do that. And so this was just a really good business for me to get into. So the challenges when I started there just weren't a lot of challenges when I started because I worked from my home. So I was present in my kids' life. I could pick them up from school. I could still be at the PTA meetings. I could still do all the things, go to football games, do all those things. But I just worked my business around my life. And it's funny because more and more traditional type businesses are also adopting that business model where they're looking around saying, I think those millennials have a good thing going, because that's really where a lot of this came from. A lot of the more traditional businesses are changing because millennials don't want to be stuck in an office. And so more and more traditional businesses are going to the network marketing strategy. And it's great because not only is it a great work-life model, but it's also a good income-producing model because you're paid a little bit on what your team does. Now with Arbonne, just to give you a little bit of a difference in different network marketing companies, we're not paid on having a team. You don't have to have a team. We're just paid on products sold. But if you want to sell more products, then it's smart to have a team, but it's not required. So, if you do have a team, you get paid a little override on everything that they do. And so it's just a perfect business model. So I just started building. When my husband came home from work, that's when I did parties, or I shared the product, or I did presentations. And it was just a fabulous model for me. I didn't have to go back and be retrained on things. I didn't have to take a lower paying job because I didn't have the skill set anymore. I didn't have to go back to school. All I did was share products that I believed in. And I already had kind of a working knowledge of nutrition, things like that. So it worked out great.
Exactly. Yeah, it sounds like you fell right into the industry that you were already kind of interested in and working within. And one of the things I like about what you just said was you were able to kind of have that work-life balance that you needed, to stay at home with your children and raise them. Do you feel like, what is your take on just having that work-life balance? Because I know like a lot of people would, I guess it just depends, like, if you're working long hours and you have to work long hours and you carve out time on the weekends, but how were you able to manage, like once you got your business and structure and stuff down, did you have to rely on any outside help to kind of help you get your schedule and stuff together when it came to the work-life balance, or is that something that you just kind of fell into after you kind of got your routine down for your business?
Well, let me address that because we're talking about, so I've done this twice, and I've said that couple of times now. So let me just tell you why I've done this twice, and then I can tell you about my two different experiences doing this with work-life balance. So I did step back from my business after building a very successful business the first time. So this was about 14 years ago. I went from zero sales, right? So first day, zero sales, to $160,000 in sales a month in 12 months. That's pretty phenomenal. And it's because it's network marketing. And it's because I worked hard. So I did that. I got a big promotion. I got the company car, which is a Mercedes. I won a trip to Hawaii. I did all that in 12 months. So this is the kind of business and perks you get with this type of a business. Corporate America never gave me that. When I was selling medical supplies, and I know this is a bit of a segue, but, they hardly give you a bonus.
Yeah.
So this is performance-based, just like my corporate sales job was performance-based, but I'm my own boss. So when I sold medical supplies, they never gave me a car. They said, hey, you work hard? I'll give you a car.
Yeah.
I said, okay. I would have taken that in New York minute.
Exactly, right.
So the work-life balance when my kids were little, it was a little crazy. I'm going to tell you the truth. I mean, I was working on my computer, doing my thing, making phone calls, doing this with a little toddlers toddling in and out. And I'd walk around the house with my phone and I would do my thing. You just make it work. But the reason I had to step back from that was because after about 3 years, my daughter started getting some mucus plugs, which anyone who knows lung issues knows that that's not a good thing. And the doctor told us, hey, you know what? You can, with additional therapy, work this out so you can get rid of them, but it's going to take work. And so I left my business. It was a nice business, but I left it because my family needed me at home. And so I'll never regret that, but I'll tell you what, I really like my old job. So when I came back after she graduated from high school, she graduated in 2017, I came back and I was so excited because I knew I could achieve what I had, right? But I completely left the business. I mean, completely. So I started completely over. So my work-life balance looks like this now. It's so much better. If the business would be now if it was then what it is today, because then we did not have a mobile business where I couldn't work it from my phone. So I was pretty much attached to my computer sitting in my office at my house. I even started when we used fax machines. So if you can believe that, I used to have to call at the end of every month and say, hey, look under the desk. I think the fax paper rolled up. I swear I'm telling you it's there. But now we have mobile business on our phones. We have an app. I have a presentation. I teach people what to do the first time. They reorder. So it's really residual income. So it makes my work-life balance so much easier because I can take my business everywhere I go. So, and then let me say another thing about work-life business. And I don't know if you've realized this, but there's no such thing as work-life business. I mean, it is totally not even true. Nobody can achieve it. I mean, how many books are on work-life business? We have tons of them, right? Am I telling you the truth?
Yeah,
it's because we never achieve work-life business. And the reason we don't is because it's unattainable. So let me tell you what it looks like for me. I have my calendar. I put my family on it first. I work my business around my family schedule. If I'm not at a family event, at a cross game, or doing something with my family, then I'm sleeping or I'm working. And that's it. So I may be working at 11 o'clock at night putting in orders, but that's because I've just taken off 4 hours during the middle of the day to go do something with my son, like a lacrosse tournament or something, or I've gone up to Huntsville to see my daughter. So more and more businesses are going to this structure where you don't really have business hours anymore. You just work your business around your life, and as long as you're successful, they pretty much leave you alone. So that's work-life balance to me. There may be other people that think differently, but I know that's where business is going.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think everybody is going for that unattainable work-life balance. Yeah, that is too funny. Yeah, and I'm sure, I know you've had days to where you just want to kind of throw in the towel. You know, you kind of going, you know what I mean? So tell us, share with us a bit about what keeps you going. Not specifically overall in general, but on those specific days to where, I don't know, whatever happened, whatever at that particular time to where you just say, oh, okay, I'm tired. At what point, goodness, I've got so many questions. I know this thing is too serious. Guys, just bear with me because I want to kind of jump to some of the other good stuff, and I know we probably won't get to it today. But let me just kind of backtrack and just get to this one real quick. What kind of things go through your mind, or what things do you do to kind of decompress so that you stay on the path, so that you can persevere, so you can get to the next day without saying, okay, you know what, I can go and I can complain about the chronic illnesses. I can go and complain about, life is not fair. I can go and complain about, I'm not able to work or get out of the house. With all of the stuff that's going on that you could complain about. Okay. And you've, on top of that, may have had a bad day with building your business. At what point were you able to kind of say, okay, you know what, Erin, you need to get it together, girl? What things helped you to kind of overcome and persevere?
Like I said, I fell forward all the time. So the only time when life is perfect and your business is perfect is when you're not doing anything. So don't be afraid of failure. I think people are so afraid to make mistakes and they're so afraid to fail, right? But if you are not making mistakes, you are not moving. Okay, now they need to be calculated. So you don't want to do something crazy, but you've got to be willing to make mistakes. Okay, so here's my example. So picture someone running and standing still. So when you're running and you've got all these things that you're holding and you're running, I mean, picture me as my kids, right? Okay. My kids are little. I'm trying to get in that store. I've got diaper bags. I've got 3 kids. I've got a stroller. I mean, I'm dropping things. I'm dropping balls. But who cares? So as long as I'm moving forward, I'm going to get there and things are going to be okay. And maybe I forgot the pacifier on the floor in the car. Who cares?
Yeah.
I'm moving forward. So it's the same thing with your business. The only time things are perfect is when you're standing still. That's the only time. If you're moving, then you're going to drop some things, but you can always go back and pick them up. So I fail forward all the time. So if I've had a bad day or if I've been pursuing an account and it's not closing or they go with someone else, you know what? I've learned something.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, what have I done? Why didn't I get that account? Why didn't it close? And how can I make that better? That is failing forward. You know, and sometimes it's totally out of your hands. Sometimes they just go in a different direction because it makes better sense or they bring something in-house. I can't tell you how many times I've, serviced a client with protein or something like that, and they decided to bring it in-house. Well, that's okay. That's what happens. You just keep going. Because there's opportunity everywhere. Just open your eyes and look. There's opportunity everywhere. And you just continue to fail forward. So sometimes I'm tired. I mean, I get very early. So that's another secret of success.
Yeah.
Get up early. Even if you're not a morning person, get up early. I get up, most of the time it's 5.
Oh, wow.
I get up at 5. I get up. I have a scheduled routine. Yeah, now school started, so it's a little bit different because you're throwing in a child going to high school. But I get up at 5, I do my Bible study, I do my praying. Then I map out my day. Now, I'm a morning person, so I'm mapping out my day in the morning. If you're a night person, map out that day the night before. But you've got to have a plan moving forward to be successful in that day. And you have to have a plan that is doable. So don't put like 30 things on your plan to get accomplished that day. Put 4 or 5 things that you can actually accomplish. And then wherever you land in that, if you put in a good hard work day, be happy with that at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So the thing that keeps me motivated, like I said before, is going to be food, shelter, for these things. And it takes money to live. So, and my kids really like food too. They keep coming back like 3 times a day. So, I mean, that's funny, but it's true. We need to be successful in life to make it easier and more fun.
Yeah, we definitely need that. And I know another area of your life which is really, really important to you, as it is with a lot of us. Let's take a minute to talk about God. I know you have some phenomenal things and that you've shared with us in regards to like family and perseverance. And tell us a bit about how has your faith contributed to your success?
Well, I like to say that Jesus is my business partner. And I know that sounds really funny, but every morning I really do wake up. I read the Word of God. I read it.
Yeah.
It's almost like it just ingests it. And once you start reading it, you will just see that you want to read it more, right? I read the Bible. And then I really pray about things. And I really try to do the right thing. I purposely steer away from gray areas. Not that I don't want to tackle hard things.
Yeah. But
I just want to have a business that is above reproach. As much as I possibly can, I want to have a business that there aren't gray areas. And I do that because I want to live a life that points people into the direction of Jesus Christ, which is, my Savior. I mean, the man died. He died for me to have the opportunity to live. And so when someone dies for you, you really want to honor their life by, living the best life that you can. And there's also a peace. So the thing I really love about my relationship with Christ is, I've been in some pretty stressful situations. My husband being ill way back then, now he's fine now because we figured out these food allergies and we got things worked out. He's fine now, but it was really scary.
Yeah.
I mean, we were a single income family for a long, long time. There have been times in my daughter's been in the hospital that, I have begged God, Lord, please come through for us. Show the doctors what they need to know to help her. And there's just a peace that comes over me, and I can't explain it. Yeah. But I don't want to live without that. I don't. And I encourage people to, lean into Jesus because he will be there and he's just waiting for you to open the door. And it's a huge part of my life. It's probably the biggest part of my life because I pray about everything. And I ask the Lord to open opportunities for me and, in my business. I ask the Lord to open opportunities for me to talk about him. And I've just found that it works really well. I mean, if you're doing everything that you can, so that there's no question you're above the pale, then you're really not going to be out of line too much. your business is going to be run in a pretty good and ethical way. And so that's what I try to do.
Yeah, and I appreciate you sharing that with us. I truly, truly do. And one of the things I like is, obviously meeting you a couple of months ago, but then we also had the privilege to kind of chat on several different occasions. And what I really, really, really enjoy hearing you talk about is like not only we as women, but like as strong individuals who are capable of doing extremely well, whether it be in business, life, or whatever it is, fitness goals, it doesn't matter. But you just have that, hey, just get out there and do it. Hey, Keetria, you can do this, you can do that, or whatever. So like, were there any specific moments in your life where you just knew in your heart, like, hey, and I know, like, from kind of getting to know you on a personal level, like, I know, like, okay, yeah, she had those moments, but give us a recall, like, of, hey, you know what? And obviously people say, oh, yeah, well, she just said, her daughter was ill and, her husband and all this other stuff, but really give us some stuff that we can use in regards to, what? For anybody that's looking to do something, you have to have not necessarily a rock bottom, but what do you have that just kind of gives you like, hey, I just have to get out there and get it done? You know what I mean? Like for anybody that is looking to do something.
Well, I mean, when you really have to make a change, I'm telling you, when your back is against the wall, and I mean really against the wall, it's either do or die. You're either going to get out there and make something of yourself or you're just not. So you really have to think about the consequences. I mean, really, how hard is it to get out there and just have a no abandon attitude? And that's what it takes, because nobody is going to make you successful except you. Nobody is living the life that you're living. You are the only one that can make that change. So if you sit around for years and years waiting for the perfect job or the perfect opportunity, you are never, ever going to be successful. You have to just go out there, figure out what you enjoy, figure out what you're passionate about, look at the industry, find something within that industry, some job that has the income potential that you need, and you have to go and get it. And that's just it. It's you have to decide. Now, I know people talk about deciding all the time. You have to decide. What does that mean? That means you decide that no matter what, you are going to be successful. I don't care if you're set back 10 or 20 or 30 times, you get back up and you try again. And you learn from your mistakes. Because here's what I know, is the only way you're going to fail is if you quit. So for me and my business, I'm my own boss. The only way I'm going to fail is if I fire myself. And I know that sounds funny, but a lot of people do that. They just quit. And let me tell you, you're probably quitting right before your biggest success, because you are the biggest loser before you are the biggest winner every single time. So don't be afraid to go through the hard stuff to get to the great stuff, because that great stuff could be just the next day. It could be the next hour. It could be the next time you cold call. So I'll give you an example. A couple of weeks ago, I was a little down. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, you have to go out and create your own business. You do. So I'm doing some cold calling. And cold calling, I don't mind cold calling. I really don't. I love to meet people. And you can even cold call bad. As long as you're out there trying to meet people and make a difference, then you're moving forward. You don't have to be really good. You just go meet people, right? Yeah. So I was cold calling some of these different studios, gyms, things like that. And I've been kind of shot down a few times. I'm like, you know what? My choice is I could go home now. I've put in a full day. I could just start over tomorrow. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to just do one more. I'm going to challenge myself to do one more stop, to meet one more person, to drop off one more business card before I go home. And you know, that business card that I dropped off in that very last meeting, I got to meet the owner of the gym. And guess what? We're still in talks. But if I would have quit right before that last cold call, I would have never met him. Because, you know, owners are in and out. You hardly ever get to meet them. You have to really be proactively trying to meet them. But what I'm saying is just don't give up too soon. And just don't give up. Just keep going. I mean, think about it. If my daughter had so many opportunities to just throw in the towel. She could have given up so many times. She could have let dyslexia stop her. She could have let the neurological processing issues stop her. She could have let her schedule stop her. She could have let the fact that she had to take on-level classes that she didn't like because she's an above-level, student.
Yeah.
But she could have let all that stop her, but she didn't. She just kept going. If you keep going, you will finish the race. So I think that's the thing. People are afraid to fail, and so they quit at the failure, and they never see the success. But just remember, your biggest failure is before the biggest success. And it always happens that way. And you just have to keep going, no matter how you feel. One foot in front of the other.
One foot in front of the other. All right. Well, okay. We are getting ready to wrap up. And you guys, I'm telling you, you have to tune in for the second part of this episode, this series, whatever you want to call it. Again, speaking with Erin Martin. And Erin, I tell you what, before we wrap up, if you don't mind, where can we find you online, like social media? Are you online anywhere in LinkedIn, Twitter, anywhere where we can connect? And then also, too, I guess what we'll do is for next week, we'll also drop the information as well for anybody who is interested in learning more about Erin Martin and her company and the things that she's doing in the fitness, health, and wellness community.
Yeah, that's great. I am on social media. I also have a website, but you can just call me. I'm serious. My phone number's out there for everyone. So my number is 281-351-4712. That is my business line. You can call me at that number. I am at Erin Martin Texas.arbonne.com. That is my website. And then I'm on social media. So you can just find me on Facebook under Erin Martin or on Instagram under Erin's Inside Out Wellness. And I'd be happy to connect with you and tell you a little more about what I do, how I can help you just get healthy and feel good. I also work with athletes. So I work with several gyms. So I love to work with athletes with sports nutrition to help them really maximize what they do in the gym. So I'm happy to talk to you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Perfect. Sounds good, guys. Yeah, and we will also be delving a little bit more into the fitness and the workout and the exercise and getting some tips and ideas from Erin in the next part of this particular episode. So, Erin, thanks so much for joining us today. We truly appreciate it, and we look forward to continuing this conversation for next week. So you take care.
Okay, thank you. I enjoyed it.
Thanks for hanging out with us here on SOB. We hope this episode has been resourceful. If you'd like to check out the latest articles or follow Keetria's website updates, just log on to Keetria.com or follow her on Twitter at KEETRIA.